It's Friday.
It's 5 to 5, and
it's Crackerjack. It's one of those phrases you can't help it, is it? It's just straight away you go to that place when you were a kid. What we were so surprised about, though, Alan, you did your research on this. Tell us a little bit about Crackerjack and its background.
Well, what I can't believe is that Angela told me earlier on that she watched the first ever Crackerjack. And I said, Angela, the first one was on the 14th of September 1955. And it ran through to 21st of December 1984. So it was a big chunk of my childhood. And it's recently been brought back by Sam and Mark, January of this year. So don't say we don't give you anything topical on these things.
It's a 2020 thing. I didn't even realise that when we talked about it. Because we suddenly, I think, who was it last week? It was Sarah that said, let's do the 5:15. And actually, when we started talking about it, I suddenly got, why not 5 to 5? Because that's such a memorable thing. We all know it's Friday, it's 5 to 5. And that got us talking on it. And then we started thinking about, well, what about these blasts from the past? Because I mentioned it at one of the first ones that the kids outside have started drawing on the pavement in chalk. We had chalk rainbows and they did it in the first few weeks and there was loads everywhere, but they've actually started again. So I've really loved that. This blast from the past, all of a sudden it's like we're back in the 1970s.
Well, I was a bit concerned when you put the post out and it said, blasts from the past. I was hoping that you weren't insinuating that was us two. And Stephen will have to confirm this because he's just put on there postman's knock.
Postman's knock.
And I can't remember if that was the same. I don't think it is. Is that the same as knock down ginger?
No, it wasn't postman's knock where you were in the cupboard and you were all in the dark.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we all know I'm out of the cupboard now, so that's fine. But I used to play knock down ginger. Which shouldn't be done, children. I'm not advocating that right now, but in case you don't know what it is, you knock on someone's door and then run and hide behind a bush and try not to knock their milk bottles over when you're scampering away.
What was always on the doorstep. Now Tracy, I hope you've got a drink, but I do hope it's not brandy and baby sham. That's disgusting. I mean, my drink of choice as a 17, 18-year-old was snake bite and black. And pints of it, so that was my drink. But brandy and baby jam sounds disgusting.
Well, the thing is, I actually didn't really start alcohol, although we used to go to the pub with mum and dad, and we'd stay in the Anglia. They'd come out with 2 bottles of Coke and some packs of Cripps.
With the blue shaky bit, yeah. Salt in the shake packet.
Not shaken back, and so I only ever really drunk shandy. So when I joined NatWest, which was January the 14th, 1980, they gave me this buddy, right? And they said, oh, Stephen, can you show Alan around, take him up to the canteen, take him for lunch, that sort of thing. So we got in the lift and he said, oh, right. So, mate, what team do you support? And I said, what do you mean? He says, football. I said, I don't really like football. That was like strike one. I said, I played hockey. And he went, oh, he says, what do you like to do then? And I said, well, I like amateur dramatics. He went, strike 2. So we went out at lunchtime. This is where the drink comes in. And we had a bank bar, and it was a subsidised bar. And they said, what do you want? And I said, I'll have a shandy. And they went, pint. I went, oh, no, just a half. And so back then, they were drinking 4 pints of light and bitter at a lunchtime. And I must admit, it didn't take me long to progress.
My first experience of shandy, actually, I was about 12 or 13, I think, and I'm a fisherwoman, and I was fishing and I fell in the lake so I got drunk on shandy. And what was the brown bottle? What was the brown shandy? The can. Come on, anyone that can remember, it was a brown can, and it wasn't Bar's shandy, I don't think, but there was it might be Shandy Bass. That was it. Yeah, Shandy Bass. There we go. Got drunk on Shandy Bass at a very young age. Fell in the lake.
Did you do that on purpose? You just said that you did fishing and you couldn't remember the name of the shandy, and it was bass. See,
it was core fishing. Don't catch.
Brilliant.
I was catching tench.
So we were looking at some of these sort of games and stuff, and we've had some brilliant ones mentioned on here. But I used to have things like Meccano, Airfix, Spirograph, Lego, all that sort of thing. But then I had something called Plasticraft, and not many people remember this stuff. But you had these molds and this highly potent liquid plastic that you mix in with a hardener, and the fumes are enough to knock you out. You actually have the windows open. But you could make paperweights, you could make jewellery, and wait for it, ashtrays. Right?
Yes!
Making ashtrays. With
I do remember it, because you used to put little flowers in the resin, didn't you, as it hardened? Yes!
So, surprise, surprise, you can't buy that stuff anymore. And I looked this up because Polycraft sell the SG2000 paintable fast cast polyurethane liquid plastic casting resin. I mean, that's going to be a tough one to sell, isn't it? That one.
I suddenly flash back to Cameo Craft. Does anyone remember that one? Which was more that you were actually creating a sculpture. And you got the stuff everywhere. It was all over, and then you had to push it out of the different molds, and it usually cracked.
Exactly that. But we were talking about how many of these things are still around right now, because I know that Kaplunk has been mentioned. That's still here. Twister, that's probably still around. Get that one out of the cupboard. Lego is very much still around. Meccano has gone a little bit plasticky. They don't tend to do the metal one anymore. It was a little bit fiddly, so I know what you mean, Steve. I was always losing me nuts and bolts. But then things like Evel Knievel, Hot Wheels, Hot Rods, Matchbox, Dinky Toys. I had a super booster that my cars would come in slowly and shoot out the other side. And I'm thinking, how does it do that? I was looking inside for the spring. It's absolutely brilliant. Mousetrap, what a pain in the arse going back.
I loved Mousetrap, but how many times did you knock it? You're like, no! It's a bit like putting up all the dominoes when you were trying to do the dominoes and do the runs, and they were doing the world records, and it was like a fly had come in the night and knocked over 2 million of the dominoes.
20 minutes to set up, 2 minutes to play, 30 seconds to destroy. Connect 4. Connect 4 is brilliant.
Yes, Julie.
I think they have them in holiday camps, but they have the big ones. They're about they're like 8-foot walls. It's absolutely brilliant. What's that? Kids of today, they don't know what they're missing. I feel like breaking into a Monty Python sketch now.
With downfall on there, I've got a vision of it with like different wheels or something connected. I'm not sure about that one, but that then suddenly got me into battleships. And again, you could either have the posh version or you could have your pen and paper. And boxes that you played on pen and paper as well.
Well, you had you draw your own battleships. Then if you want, you upgraded to the case, the plastic case that you carried around. But now it's all done online, you know, with explosions and stuff and bodies in the water, and you can choose all the missiles and stuff. So it's a little bit too lifelike. It's almost as if, I mean, okay, so I used to live down in Fareham, and I used to be by a river, by the sea, by woods and stuff. And I used to make bows and arrows, spears. I had a metal catapult. Some of my friends had upgraded to air pistols. And why don't we let kids do that?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. This is a great list for people if we actually took all of these, because you've got kids at home, they're getting bored, there's different things. We remember these as fantastic things. Operation was the top level for me. When we got the box of Operation, that was out every night, being able to do that. But you're right, most of the time we actually, Alex, this prompted from this morning we were talking, we were doing our teams meeting, getting work done, we're moving to the new gym next week, it's all exciting. His kids coming in, out and about, and then it was like, right kids, you've got 1 more minute on your laptops or whatever it was, or on the screens, and then you're outside for the rest of the day. How many people remember that? You were outside for the rest of the day, don't come back till tea time. Well, we need to do that again.
We used to go knocking on people's doors, not for the knockdown ginger, But whereas we would, try to get past gatekeepers on our BD calls, we had to get past mum and dad. We'd knock on the door and say, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Patterson. Can Ross come out to play?" And the thing is, I mean, my dad, he was a Navy man, so he used to tell me off by postcard, which was really weird because I'd done something 3 months previously, and then I get the postcard and get a bollocking. And I thought, what? Mum's obviously snitched on me. But there was one time we used to do a lot of our own creating our own games. And look, we were a little bit naughty as kids. And one Christmas we broke into our school. I mean, don't ask me why. Why would a kid break into school?
We've all done it.
But we got caught, and this copper said he stood outside the window as we were climbing out the gym. And he said, right, she's got some vans outside waiting for you guys. So we went down, we got cautioned. But then the dads came along, the mums and dads came along and picked us all up one at a time. And the copper went, Mr. and Mrs. Cornish. And so Rob and Ross, they went sort of out like that, clip around the ear. And this happened with every single boy. Alan, yeah, your dad's here. So I went out and I looked at Dad and he went, Wally. I said, what have you been doing? Now, this is the thing. They all got grounded for 2 weeks. So I was going out knocking on the door saying, oh, can Ross come out to play? He went, no, he's grounded. So effectively, I was grounded by proxy because I had nobody to play with.
Well, I am wondering where Julie and Alex are taking this at the moment. Let me just go back a few here because Alex suddenly kicked in with he loves a bit of role play. Was it role play? No. Gameplay, sorry. Maybe that's my
mind. Where are you going? Where are you going with this?
It's because it's scrolled back. I missed it. It's suddenly we've got so many comments to take up from there.
Tracy, were they the plastic balls on the end of a piece of string?
That you just went...
You clapped them together and people had them smash in their faces, bits of plastic in parts of your body. They were really dangerous.
What was the point of them? That's what I don't get. I mean, conkers I liked conkers, but clackers were literally, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, clackers were like conkers on steroids. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to do that too much on screen. Very dangerous. Let me bring it down a bit. Tiny tears.
Oh, see, that's now moving into my daughter's time. We weren't allowed. Actually, I didn't like dolls, as you can probably guess. From the fishing and climbing trees was our thing. It was how high can we climb? You're talking about going out and doing dangerous things. We didn't have guns, admittedly. But we used to try and climb the highest tree. And when it came to hazelnut season, we used to climb the trees. We used to be in it all day, getting the hazelnuts, cracking them open with our teeth. No wonder I've got rubbish teeth. And eating the hazelnuts inside, those little white kernels. That was our day. We loved it. A few people fell out. I didn't. That was good.
I used to stick my Action Man up in the tree. And this is how things got developed, because you had your basic Action Man, but then they started advertising the Action Man with real hair. And actually, it was pretty much like this, and it felt like this. And then there was an Action Man with a scar. And
yes!
And gripping hands. And he, oh, I've got to have one. And then my dad came back from like a 14-month thing, and he went, what are you playing with a doll for? And I went, Dad, it's not a doll. It's an Action Man. He went, it's a doll. Oh,
I had one doll and I remember ripping her head off and swinging her around and smashing her against the wall. I just didn't like dolls.
You weren't actually in Toy Story, were you?
Yeah, I was. What's that horrible kid that used to pull things about? Now, games was meant to be our starting point. We're 13 and a half minutes in.
Right. Okay.
What else were we meant to talk about?
No, it was that. It was exactly that. Blast from the past, but also how some of these things are still around and they're still really good fun. We were talking about Scrabble earlier on.
Yes.
And I was saying to Angela that I had a bit of an emotional breakdown earlier on because I opened up my old Scrabble box and it had a pad in there, and I've kept the pad for my father's been dead for 10 years, but it's still got the scoring when I played Dad after school, and his writing was beautiful, and the numbers and everything. And the bag of the letters was made by my mum out of one of my sister's school skirts. And you
How
think,
many bags for letters have we all made? We've all got those handmade with the drawstring, haven't we? It's still in there.
Eagle-eyed Action Man. I think that's the one you used to look through the back of his head, wasn't it?
Well, you know, you used to push the thing in the back of his head and his eyes would go like that.
But no, I mean, I could say Space Hopper, Chopper Bike, all these sorts of things. And some of the cars were brilliant. I mean, I had the original Batman car. I wish I'd known back then the value of these things. You know, it fired little rockets and it had a little spinning disc that spat out the front. And don't even get me onto the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I wish I'd looked after my Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh my goodness, because the red wings went out the side, didn't it? I remember you pressed a button and the red wings came out. Oh my goodness, I forgot
for the first couple of weeks that I had it.
Yeah.
But no, we were talking about, because sometimes, and I've mentioned this on a couple of my webinars, that, you know, we're going to, okay, you're going to use this particular technique, and tell me, oh, bloody hell, hasn't that technique been around for ages? What is that?
Alex has just said modern games, Rummy Cub is a brilliant game, and actually I've got it here on my table. If you want a family game, getting people together, and this is the game. I go and stay with my school friend in Hong Kong when I work there, and she's got a 11-year-old and a 13-year-old now. We all play Rummy Cub together, and the kids love it. You can't get them to sit still. They want to be on the computer all the time. If we get Rummy Cub out, and it's brilliant for numbers, so the kids really get the numbers, and it's actually quite hard in that sense, but they really get into it, even a 10-year-old. Yeah. What does it say in here? From 8 to adult. There we go. Rummy Cub, you're spot on there, Alex. I love it. What about, now this wasn't planned, this just happens to be, I've got all these. Okay, play a game. Unfortunately, the Bananagram box did actually do it, but if you play Bananagram, because the zip went. Anyone play Bananagram? So that's your Scrabble. Yeah. A quick game that kids love because it's all done and it's all fast and it's like you've got to do it quick. Yeah. Next one, peel, all the rest of it. So
we called that Scramble. We didn't call it Banana Game. Anyway, I'm just a bit conscious of time.
I'm having fun.
One thing, though, we talk about nowadays, and a lot of the games have gone online and they have screen time. I never remember my mum saying to me, "You've been playing with that Lego for too long. You've actually been doing puzzles for too long." I was never restricted in whatever activity I was doing. You know, my models, you know, I had Spitfires and catamarans and everything else hanging from my ceiling from the fishing line, which comes back to the Bass Shandy.
But what about, and actually I don't know your name. Oh, it's Tracy. Yeah, it's big up there. Banned from playing Monopoly. So you're right, but Monopoly is the one that you've been playing it too long, because it's like 4 hours. We used to always have to say, we will break at this point, we will stop and we will come back, and it will stay out on the table. But actually that's still around, and my daughter, we played Dogopoly. So if your kids love dogs, that was it. She would play that for hours on end. Dogopoly was brilliant because they were all different dogs instead of, so like Great Dane was Mayfair.
Brilliant. Mayfair, Park Lane, got to go for those. And then of course the green ones on that same strip. You get that strip, people try and get the 6 to get to home. It ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna get to Old Ken Road. You got to land on Mayfair with a hotel. Give us your money. 1,200 quid. I don't know it. That could be wrong.
So we were meant to be starting off and talking about crackerjack and double or drop with the cabbages. So if anyone's wondering what the cabbages were about on the picture, that was the double or drop. And I used to love that game, and winning a crackerjack pencil, I think I put on LinkedIn earlier that was sort of your maybe number 2 or your number 3. If you're going to relate this back to work, your objectives: number 1, Blue Peter badge; number 2, Jim will fix it, which was meeting Duran for me; number 3, your crackerjack pen and pencil. It's the game. That's what you wanted.
Excellent. And then when you became an adult, you ended up on Bullseye. What you could have won.
I played in a darts team. I would have loved to have gone on to Bullseye. 18, I was in a pub's darts team, so I play a wicked game of darts, definitely. We've got all these games. When we finally all get together, guys, we're going to have a games night.
Yeah, and if we're going to do it outside, if it's social distancing and stuff, I think we should put big foam masks and bodies on and just do it as a great big It's a Knockout.
I did that as well with Recruitment Juice. They do it now. You can do it as a corporate event. That was about 8 years ago. That It's a Knockout. It's bloody knackering. And don't do it in September. It was freezing. So yeah.
What should be the key takeaways then?
Right, key takeaways. The plan from this. Sorry, the wine's kicking in. I've not had wine for about 6 weeks. Finally ordered one with HelloFresh. Got the wine in. The key takeaways was about the blast from the past. Sometimes that oldies but goodies. It's about best practice. Think about, there's been lots of stuff on LinkedIn this week about sort of 20 years, 30 years ago, this is what we used to do. And actually it's that stuff, building the relationships, really understanding the company, wanting to take the time that's making the difference and having real conversations with people that's actually making the difference at the moment. And we need to go back to that stuff rather than it all just being automated portals that all just disappear. Yeah. We want one-to-one relationships. We want retainers. We want money up front. Yeah. Coming back to your course that starts in a week or so.
And if I can leave you with one piece of advice, and it's really important advice before you all sign off, it is absolutely safe to drink out of the garden hose.
Unless, like mine, it's been in the garden all day. That will be 35 degrees in that hose, that first bit. You will get burnt. So it's not.
Run it through first. Fine, it's main water. Anyway, have a nice weekend, all.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Next week's a big week in the gym. We're starting to transfer people over. We're moving on to a new site. We've got a new course actually every week until the middle to late August. So we've got like 6 new brand new, oh, the drink's kicking in, brand new courses. And you're first. Don't do that.
Yes. Okay.
It's so on PC.
Right. Yes. Look forward to seeing you all on the course. Retainers. Come on. Bring it on. Looking forward to it.
Up front. Anyway, we love it.
I'm going off. We're going off to see some friends. Socially distanced drinking tonight. Bye.
Lovely. See you later. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye all.